What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. I'm your host, Mangone. Big T is not here. I'm sure he's still traveling back from the live final. We got Hoop, though, he's here. He's got no excuses, and he's had some issues today that we'll get to and talk about. We got Titletown here, who is not hosting. He'll get to that because he made me host instead. This is not my fault. Let's go over to Hoop first. Hoop, how's it going? How is the internet? And tell the people about your day a little bit.
Yeah, ran into some technical difficulties. Obviously, landscaping is something I take pride in here at the residence, and we had landscapers out not to cut the grass. I know I mentioned it to you guys, at the opening that landscapers were out, and you guys were kind of surprised. So let me just preface this by saying landscapers were not here to cut the grass. Number one. Number two, the issue has been resolved. So we had people removing trees around the deck, overgrown, big, massive trees. There was a bunch of them that kind of lined our deck, and they're overhanging, and they were turning like the deck green. It required a lot of cleaning and maintenance. So those were removed, and we had some new smaller ones planted, definitely outside of my level of expertise when it comes to landscaping. So in the process of removing and then planting the new trees, the internet cable got sliced in half. So that was an issue. So luckily we were able to get the internet company out, and they got the issue fixed. But, the most important part of this story is landscapers were on my residence, but not to cut the grass. I cut the grass actually earlier, and they came in and did the work around the deck. So we're all good.
All right, well, we're back. We got you all ready to go for this MLB slate. Title, we'll go over to you. Tell the people Big T is not here. I don't know if you know why. I mean, you stay at his house sometimes in your free time, so maybe you have the reasoning. And tell the people why you're not hosting, because I don't want to get murdered in the chat, because they love Title, right? If there's one thing they want, they always want Big T, and they didn't get Big T, and then they're maybe getting Title as the host, right? Maybe they're getting that. No, they didn't even get that on this show, Title. So what's going on?
Yeah, Big T. Unfortunately, you guys are probably sad seeing my melon over Big T's pop up, but he's still traveling. He hit me up 25 minutes ago or something, asked if I could jump on. I've been hammering best ball drafts all morning. Was about to actually go eat lunch, and yeah, I decided to hop on, but I didn't look at the slate too much before. And Mangone, you're a great host, and the people, I know they like me as a host, but hey, you need to step up once in a while. You're going to host a show with Big T on it. So I thought you were going to keep your role today. You're a great host. The people, you got to show a little Mangone respect. He knows what he's doing. And I'll just be an analyst and talk about hoop with it. Next time I'll be a host and you can go to the analyst spot. We can switch off.
Yep, it's perfectly fine. I'm very happy to host. It's a good day. I am excited. Before we dive in, I got to go back to Hoop, right? We got to get some live final updates from you. I mean, that was my plan for this show. I know there's going to be some dude in the chat that says, get to the slate. There's 15 games. Who cares, right? We'll get there. We'll give you the winners. We got to talk about the final, Hoop. I mean, give us the breakdown, the day by day. Tell us about DC, Holden skipping out, Big T. Give us the breakdown.
Yeah, so a lot went on. I mean, we had fun, met a lot of good people. A lot of people, met up with a lot of people that I already knew. And then, I guess we'll just hit this right at the beginning. The one guy I was probably most excited to meet, one of our coworkers here at Run Pure Sports. We had kind of talked about doing a little lunch ahead of the final, and Holden pretended like he didn't know who we were. It was pretty sad. I mean, me and Big T shed some tears in Denver together. DC met us for lunch. One of our members, Glaucoma, a real nice guy, met us for lunch. My wife was there. It was a nice lunch, and we reached out to Holden and literally pretended like he didn't know who we were. Made up some story about a date, lunch date or something. I said, hey, bring her with us. We got room for her as well. And it didn't happen. And it was unfortunate. And, as the great JT Hayes says, very, very hurtful. So that's the first thing to discuss, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, definitely very hurtful. We got Holden is actually in the chat as well. Title, you didn't get to play Big T in basketball yet, but I don't know. From the pictures I saw online, right, it looked like a good time. Looked like DC was having a good time. Were you jealous you couldn't get to play Big T in his hometown?
Yeah, I mean, Hoop gave me he was giving me a little curveball. He set it up like, hey, I was maybe going to possibly go, get a little excited, and Hey, that's all right. I was down at the bars in Milwaukee. But yeah, I followed along. Glaucoma, 24th place. Good for him.
Yeah.
Looked like a lot of fun. Unfortunately, Hoop, Big T expected a better out of you guys. You didn't go to Coors, which I mean, I guess that was the right call, but you guys were all in Boston, right? And they didn't do much better.
Yeah, it's a weird slate. I mean, I had Jock Peterson as a one-off because I played, Eduardo Rodriguez. That was a whole nother story. So I had Eduardo, I had 4 Boston, and then the only other team I could really get with them was the Cardinals, and then Jock as the one-off. So the Cardinals did their job. Jock hit the homer, and then I don't know if you guys were watching the Boston game. Devers had that ball he hit to like deep right center. It looked like it was going to go off the wall. The guy made like a dive or a leaping catch at the wall, just a hero play. That really turned the whole game. Like Eduardo got rocked the next inning, or the walks or whatever. I like the team I built. Obviously, it didn't work out. I mean, it's tough only having one team when people have like 4 or 5. I mean, if you're going to get in those live finals, the only way you're making money is if you get way up to the top, and not even like top 10. You have to get like top 5. So I mean, kept my expectations low, obviously. But it was fun. And then DC, stuck with us on Saturday. And he went hard. DC went hard in the paint. If you follow him on Twitter, he made the comments about the open bar getting the best of him. The open bar definitely got the best of DC. They had a transportation bus from the event back to the hotel. And if you were a sober person, just watching that, DC was he was definitely hurting. I don't know I know he's on the exercising kick. I don't know if he got to exercise the next day. I mean, I'd be shocked if he did because, I went hard. I felt like absolute shit on Sunday. I had an early flight. I had to get up, and it was tough for me, but I can't imagine the condition that DC was in, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, DC, I've hung out with DC on a few occasions, a good guy to hang out with, a lot of fun. We had a lot of good conversations about the RPS team and, I guess what's the best word to what Holden did to us? Maybe the betrayal of Holden. I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel betrayed. So we talked about that a little bit and how hurtful that was. But overall, it was a great weekend. Had a lot of fun. We did the Rockies game on Friday night. It was a good event overall. Good job by FanDuel for sure.
Yeah, and you missed it, Hoop. On Twitter, DC, he posted a tweet. He said, Colorado Sunshine is the ultimate hangover cure. 17 beers ain't no thing. Hope you all had a happy Sunday. He ran 8 miles and in an hour and a half. I mean, that's a lot of running, man.
Yeah, that's super, super duper impressive on his part. If he did manage to do that, I was kind of out of the loop. Like I said, I was hungover as all hell on Sunday and had to travel all day and scoop up the kids. So I was out of commission basically all day Sunday. So anything that happened in DFS or I was not in team 2. So, yeah.
My internet is acting up, I think, but I don't know. I should be good now. I think I'm back. Title, I'll go over to you. One last question before we dive into the baseball. Could you drink 17 beers and then go for an hour and a half run? Would you be able to pull that off at your young age?
Zero chance. I mean, 17 beers in itself without puking. I don't know. I mean, I like to drink, but that's a lot of beers. I don't even know if I could do that. And then I couldn't even run that sober, 8 miles, an hour and a half. So props to DC. He's been grinding and no way I could do that.
All right.
Yeah, you definitely have to give DC credit. I mean, just, a guy that obviously, he openly talks about, he drinks a lot and not super healthy, kind of just turning course and then hopping right in. Like, I mean, real hard, not like, I'm going to run a couple miles here and there. Like he's like full force, like going at it. So definitely props to DC for getting on that train.
Yep, DC's been grinding. And speaking of grinding, we got Simon, our producer. He's grinding out the best balls. We got people grinding preseason. I know Simon is, so is JSU. You Kill Bill Walsh. We got all the people, right? Bruce. All of them are grinding out the NFL content for you. We got RPS NFL 15% off for monthly subs for life. So be sure to get in on that. This doesn't just get you NFL content, right? This gets you all the content. We got college football coming up this weekend. MMA's been going on. We got the NASCAR, right? We got baseball still. So get in now. Sign up over at runpuresports.com. Again, use that code RPS NFL 15. And Hoop, before we dive into MLB, one last thing. I got to give you some props. And I know a lot of people do it sometimes. They pick Tony Finau to win and then they eventually fall into it, right? It was a great call by you though, right? At the 8,200 tag, me and Big T also went live on the premium side, like Wednesday night, really late. And he talked up Finau. He was all over him. So if you were hopping on with us, there was like 40 people watching maybe. You got on Finau. I didn't get on him as much. I was making fun of Big T. So Big L taken for me, but take your victory lap on Tony Finau and talk about the Strokes Gain show that you'll be going on live tonight. And you can talk about the free winners.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take the victory lap. I mean, it was I felt it for Tony. I'm a big Tony homer guy. I've been off him for a while. I really haven't been playing him at all. Got back on him and he won. Now I am an honest person and I am a man of the people and very upfront and try to be super transparent. 2 highest owned guys this week in PGA DFS: Tony Finau, John Rahm, and I got absolutely dusted. So I don't know. I still don't know how it worked out. But I got absolutely smashed in DFS. So as much as I want to take this victory lap and say, Tony Finau led me to all these giblets, that would be a lie. So I'm not going to say that. I still don't know how it happened because I had so much Rahm, who, I guess he technically would have finished third, and obviously a ton of Tony Finau, and got crushed in DFS. So that part was unfortunate. But yeah, happy for Tony Finau. I mean, top 10 Tony, top 5, whatever people say. Got it done. And, hopefully it leads to more wins because I really enjoy watching it.
Yeah, it was absolutely awesome to see. As someone who's liked Tony Finau in the past, and I've definitely soured on him recently, it was good to see him get that W finally. And he got it on the Monday, right? Which was even funnier, right? So typically he can't close on a Sunday, but it was Monday, so he's able to close.
Still hasn't proven that he can close on a Sunday, right?
It is true, right? Definitely has not proven that. But let's dive in. Let's talk about the MLB slate. Hoop, let's dive in. Give me your first overall breakdown on this one. Mine would be, it's hot, man. Like there's a lot of good hot weather spots. There's a lot of good hitting spots on this slate. It's a big one. What are you doing on this slate?
Yeah, it's a hitter slate for sure tonight. Like you're going to want to get your hitters in there. And we talked about it. I mean, there's different ways you can go about building teams in baseball. Like, when I had the big win last week, the, first and second in the monster, I just locked in the Braves pitcher on all my teams. What was it? Toussaint, right? I think they're facing the Marlins. I didn't mess around at pitcher. I mean, on FanDuel, I just played him in every single team because I knew that's the guy I wanted. And then, worked in the offenses that I kind of like. Tonight, I think the night where you get your offenses in there, you prioritize the offense and then come back to pitcher and maybe kind of see what fits, because I think there's a lot of different ways you can go at pitcher. Yes, Burns is a phenomenal pitcher and I want some exposure to him. Jack Flaherty's in a really good spot. To me, those are the top 2 guys. Yes, I want as much exposure as I can to those guys, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary. I'd be fine coming down and saving some money on some cheaper guys too. I think there's some cheaper guys in some pretty decent spots that could potentially help me get more bats. So I guess I, agree with the sentiment that, yeah, there's a lot of hot weather and a lot of big totals and a lot of offenses that I want to touch on today. So for me, it's going to be a slate where I prioritize offense.
All right. Yeah, I'm definitely be prioritizing some offense too, but there are some good pitchers, so I don't want to play some absolute scrub. Title, I'll go over to you. Who are the top pitchers? What are we doing here? We got Flaherty. We got Burns. We have a lot of good guys at the top. I mean, it's Charlie Morton day. It feels like if you just play Charlie Morton, you print every 5 days, or at least the pitcher position, you're not getting in trouble. You just got to get your bats right. So break it down for me, Title. What are you doing at the pitcher position?
Yeah, so there's 2 top clear pitchers on the slate and the 2 best arms. Corbin Burns, who's been absolutely dominant this year. He's 10-6 against Cincinnati. It's a little tougher matchup, but I mean, the talent from him to the next best, Flaherty, who's a couple starts back from the IL. I just want to play Burns and know I'm going to get 6+ innings. Know I'm going to get 7+ strikeouts and take my safety there. So he's my SP1 on DraftKings. FanDuel, it's a lot tougher. He's 11-5, whereas Flaherty's 10-3. So that's more of a discussion over there. Burns, he's my SP1 on DraftKings. I think I'm going to go Flaherty though as my SP1 if spending up on FanDuel. And then there's some guys you can punt down there too to get more bats. But Flaherty's my SP2 on DraftKings. 9.6K is too cheap. He does get the good matchup against Detroit, and he's been looking really good since. So they're the 2 clear top 2 arms, locking them in cash games right now. Then if you want to go Charlie Morton at 9K, I think he's a solid pivot. We know how many strikeouts are in this Yankees lineup, but man, there's so much power in this lineup. I don't think I'm going to go there in a 14-game slate, but I definitely think it makes sense for GPPs. I wouldn't blame you, but Flaherty and Burns for me in the top, and they'll be anchoring a lot of my lineups. There's some cheap bats, some cheap leadoff hitters that are min price that we can get to.
Yeah, so you mentioned the Yankees, right? There is power in that lineup, but there's a lot of strikeouts, and strikeouts are king in MLB DFS. Hoop, you know that. You are someone, I know you look at the strikeout props just like me. Talk to me about the pitcher position here at the top. I like Morton a lot, but it's definitely a loaded slate. What are you doing here with the top end arm?
Well, it's the same issue all season long, which is I think it really hurts the DraftKings product for baseball, where they just refuse. It's just poor pricing. I mean, FanDuel has done a phenomenal job this season with pitchers, and I know their hitting pricing has been, it's been pretty bad. I'd say the hitting pricing on FanDuel, but the more important part is they're getting the pitchers right. And it's more important to get the pitchers right opposed to the hitters, because if everyone's cheap, you're going to have hundreds of guys that are, not hundreds, but 50 guys that are too cheap. On DraftKings, when you're dealing with the pitcher pool and there's 15 to 20 guys on a slate and they're too cheap, it just ruins the slate. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be easy to pay up for Burns and Flaherty if you want, or Burns and I like Marquez, and I also like Charlie Morton's too cheap at 9K. I agree the matchup isn't great, but he's been really good. So for me, it's just too easy to play this top tier. Burns, Flaherty, Morton, and Marquez above 8K, I think, are all elite plays and all guys that I want to get exposure to. And then if I'm at meeting, I'm most likely going to stick in this top tier range because it's too easy to play these guys, and their upside is just much more. It's much higher than the cheap guys. And, like you kind of alluded to, there's some cheap bats that make it really even easier to go ahead and just lock in two of these guys. So for me, the way it stands now, I mean, I'm going to play Burns, I'm going to play Flaherty, I'm going to play Morton, and I'm going to play Marquez. And I feel really damn good about all four of them.
Yeah, I feel good about those guys. Who in cash games, would you play a Herman Marquez in cash? I mean, tournaments, I get it. I've gone back and forth if I should put him on the cash, or I probably am. He's not a guy that I'm going to make as the number one option for me, right? I'm not going to put the green mark on him that he's the core play, but I do think he's in play as a guy that has high strikeout upside. I just think that Burns, Flaherty, and Morton, some of their cheaper price tags, they're kind of better options, but I wouldn't say you shouldn't play Marquez.
Yeah, no, I'd be good going Marquez in cash games. I mean, the 8.2 price tag, we've been talking about it since the trade deadline. You're definitely going to want to bump up pitchers that are going against the Cubs. Tonight he gets this good matchup against the Cubs, not in Coors. I think you could have a lot of success. So, yeah, I mean, to me, it's those four guys very clearly. You can make the case for some cheaper guys, but, to me, honestly, I don't know if you need to do it today.
All right, Taylor, so we talked about the top end guys, right? We're all pretty chalky cash game type of guys. Let's try to get a little creative. Let's talk about some of these other arms. Bill Miller is in that Indians game, right? So is Eli Morgan a cheap option you can go to? Are there any mid-tier options, cheap guys? What are you doing here on this slate, Taylor?
Yeah, so I want to touch on Marquez quick too, because I didn't. I think he definitely is cash viable at 8.2K. Because you get over 2,000 savings from Burns. Right now, I haven't built lineups. I want Corbin, Burns, and Flaherty just because they're by far the two best arms, but I wouldn't hate it all if you want to go down to Marquez. And then going down to cheaper guys or some pivots, I'm definitely going to be living in the upper range more, but Eric Fedde, if I pick one guy, he's 7.3K on DraftKings. He's 6.3K on FanDuel, and he just gets the matchup with the Marlins in Miami in this pitcher's park. Against the lineup that I like to pick on. So at the end of the day, we've talked about a lot on these shows, pick on certain teams, the Marlins, the Nationals, the Cubs, Texas, the rest of the year. And even if there's just an okay pitcher that can go 6 innings like Fedde, I think he makes sense if you want to go down there at 7.3. He's more in the question on FanDuel though, because 6.3, because all the pitchers, Flaherty's over 10K, Burns is over 11K, because the pitchers are actually priced up right. Fedde actually is cash game viable if you want to go that route and just get all the bats. So on DraftKings, I'm mainly living in the upper range. I think Morton would be the pivot just because the strikeouts are there. These lower guys just don't have the same strikeout ability on this slate as Flaherty, as Burns, Marquez, Morton. So Fedde would be the guy. I'm probably not going to get there on DraftKings though.
What about Morgan, right? With Bill Miller there. I mean, the umpires can help. And this Texas lineup, so I've definitely been saying that Texas doesn't strike out as much. I kind of talked it up on the bet show with JJ the other day, but the lineup they have today, there are more strikeouts in there. Some of these guys are back, right? You got Solak, you got Lau. So there are more strikeouts now back into this Texas lineup they brought in. And Morgan has been good recently. So what would you do with a guy like Eli Morgan?
I mean, I see his K prop sitting there at 4.5, and then I go and I see 8.5. So I see 7.5 from Morton's. I just see so many other ones that, and their prices aren't, I mean, they're different enough, but there's cheap bats on the slate. I just like anchoring my lineups around pitching, and we always see cheap bats get there. So even with Bill Miller, I might always keep my pitching pool short too, like I said. So if you're making 150 and you want 7 pitchers in your player pool, sure. I only like having about 4 or 5 max though. So he's not going to make the cut for me.
All right, Hoop, I know you keep a tighter pool. You kind of talked about it, but let's try and get creative. Let's talk about Luzardo, Big T's boy, because it is against the Nationals. It is in a really good ballpark. And if you look around the league today, there's a lot of really hot spots. And this is a spot where it's technically a good pitcher's park. So like if you had 2 top arms, right? If you had Flaherty and Burns and one was in the Miami park and one wasn't, you would lean the guy in the Miami park, I'm sure. So what do you do with a guy like Luzardo who has some really nice stuff, but he can have some trouble there sometimes when he's throwing the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be more prone to play him on a site like DraftKings. I mean, I definitely prefer Fetty. I'm with a title on that. I definitely prefer him. 6'4" on DK. Yeah, sure. Maybe I'm not overly excited about it. I just don't think he's very good. I mean, I played him the first start. I think it was after the trade deadline where he was super popular and just got absolutely rocked. I just don't think he's great. So I probably won't go there in tournaments. If you feel better about him, yeah, maybe. Another name down here, Andrew Heaney. I'm sure he's going to be semi-popular. He has that K prop that I believe it's like 6.5. But to me, this matchup's not great against Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's been pretty solid at the dish, so I'll likely pass on him too. I don't know. I mean, I want to be sold on one cheaper guy.
Talk about Bumgarner. I see some people in chat talking about him. He's really cheap at 7-1. I'm not a Bumgarner guy, but he also gets Pittsburgh, which is another one of the teams. So, I mean, I see chat talking about him. He's going to get some ownership. What are your thoughts on him?
He's been good. Wow, pulling this up. I guess I didn't really realize it. I mean, at least 4 strikeouts and 5 straight starts. He hasn't been under 17 fantasy points. I guess, yeah, maybe he's my favorite down here. I guess I kind of overlooked him. He's been solid, and this is a really good matchup in a great pitcher's park. So okay, now he's my new favorite down here.
Yeah, I mean, Madison Bumgarner is definitely in play. I think he's got a decent projection today against the Pirates. I think he's fine, but I just prefer other options. But if you need a cheapie, yeah, I kind of agree with what you guys say. Yeah, I wonder if I think I like Eli Morgan better than him. I'm not sure, but it is tough, man. It's really difficult down here. Hoop, I'll ask you one last question. You do play Tyler Mahle probably more than most. I always recognize he's in your lineups. It's because of the strikeout upside, right? Is he a pivot option you can go to maybe at the top? And then after that, give me your final breakdown on the pitchers.
I just can't play him on DraftKings at 9.9 with these other guys with Burns, $700 more than Flaherty cheaper. Marquez cheaper, Morton cheaper. I can't pull the trigger on him at 9.9. So like I said, it's going to be those guys up top, Burns, Flaherty, Morton, Marquez. Feel really good about all 4 of those guys. And I guess now my favorite cheapie is probably Bumgarner at 7.1. I get the Luzardo thing. If you have a stronger take on him and think he's better than I do, it's a good price tag at 6.4 in that good ballpark. I don't feel overly great about it. So yeah, I'll be sticking to like probably 5 or 6 guys today.
All right. Title, give me your final pitcher breakdown, and then we'll move on to the hitters.
Yeah. Corbin, Burns, and Flaherty are my 1-2. I'll Burns 1, Flaherty 2, and then on FanDuel, I'd swap that. Outside of them, Herman Marquez, I think he's definitely 8.2K against Chicago's too cheap. And then I'll say Fetty and Bumgarner down there. I probably won't get to Morton against the Yankees. I know the strikeouts are there, but man, the power top to bottom. Yesterday, Stanton's home run, end of the bat, looks like he just flicked it out there, and these guys just have so much power. So I don't think I'm going to do that regardless of strikeouts, but it does make sense. And then for Luzardo, he has some talent, but he just can't throw strikes at the end of the day. So I can't get there right now until I see more consistency from him. So he'd be a fade. I don't mind Bumgarner though. Yeah. The matchup, he's been good. And I think he's going to be he'll get some ownership, but he's definitely going to be lower than the top end guys. So I'll add him and Fetty down there if you're punting.
All right, Hoop. I'm looking in the chat. We got 407 watching, 123 likes. I haven't yelled at them that much. This is where we give you the floor, right? Tell the people to get those likes up, and then let me know, what do you want to do? Do we want to go game by game for the stacks? Do we want to talk position by position? How do you want to do it, Hoop?
I feel like we've been on a good run with game by game, and there's going to be some that we can kind of scoot right on past and not really talk about all that much, and really dig into some of the better, more interesting ones. So I'm definitely on team game by game. I think we've been on a good flow with that, so that's my vote. Only one vote out of three, though. I mean, if you guys want to go the other direction, we can do that. In terms of the likes, you guys have been getting it done. I mean, I hate to even have to bring it up, 400, 132, we expect a 50-50 ratio. So just get us to 200 and it'll be a good flow here the rest of the show.
All right, get those likes up. Hoop, as acting head of household on this show, right? Title's vote doesn't matter. I saw your vote. I'm just going game by game. Doesn't matter what Title even has to say. If he wanted to, he could have hosted. So I'm the head of household, as they say on Big Brother. So we're going with what I want, basically. So let's go game by game, break it all down. Let's kick it off with Diamondbacks and Pirates to start it off, because we got a guy named Travis in the chat. Not me, not on my burner. He's talking about Michael Chavez at the top. And I don't think we need to talk about him on this slate, but Title, will go over to you. Do you like him as a value play? And do you like any Pirates or Diamondbacks?
No, I don't think you need to go Chavis on this. I don't really think you need to go anywhere in this game. I mean, if you want a full punt, Anthony Alford in the outfield, but that's literally just if you want a full punt just to get up to other spots. But there's other better guys down there. Josh Van Meter, he's 2.4K. At second base, which is sometimes weak. So if I go anywhere, probably Van Meter is a one-off, but this game is, Pitchers Park, one of the games on a 14-game slate you can go and cross off, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe you can mess with some of these catchers as one-offs, I think, but I don't need to go there. Title, how about you? What are you doing with the Pirates and the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, I'm going to be off this game. It's a really bad ballpark. We talked about the nice weather. Yes, it's warm here, but this ballpark is just brutal for hitting. The Diamondbacks offense sucks. The Pirates, last night it was the premier game for the most part because we had a really, crappy slate. Now we got a full 14-game slate. I'm cool just being off this one.
Yeah, I was in on the Pirates yesterday, and it was definitely a good time. The Astros are what let me down, sadly. But it was a good game yesterday. Today is not the day. This is when we hop off. I think I am out on this one. Let's move on over. Let's talk about the Angels and the Orioles. And Hoop, I'll go right back to you because this is a game I'm sure you're going to have some game stacks of. I'm sure you're going to have some exposure to it. We got Dylan Bundy against Watkins, and Watkins has been bad. The Orioles bullpen has been bad. How are you handling this game, Hoop?
Yeah, probably like the premier game on the slate from DFS perspective, 10.5 total, team totals above 5 for both these teams. Ohtani, clearly the number one overall bat on the slate, 6.4 on DK, 4.5 on FanDuel, way too cheap. He's going to be in a highlighted play on the FanDuel cash chart. I'll tell you that much at 4.5K. Great matchup. Great matchup all throughout this game. Go to the bullpen, whatever it is, he's going to have a massive advantage. He typically already has an advantage, but this is going to be even bigger in the spot here. So Ohtani, a phenomenal play. Kind of bummed out that there's no Justin Upton in this lineup. I thought he would have been a good play, pretty cheap, but he's not in there. Jared Walsh, I think, is the guy that's very strong. DK did a pretty good job of getting some of these secondary guys up in terms of pricing. Fletcher's 4.7, Jose Iglesias is 4.1, Max Stassi is 4.5. FanDuel did not. These guys are all really, really cheap on FanDuel, so good value options if you want to spend up on some of these bigger bats or the top pitchers. And then Baltimore is in a really good spot here too against Dylan Bundy. You can get some cheaper bats, which is really nice. Santander is only 2.8K on DK. Austin Hayes 3K. Urias 2.9K. Mullins is a great play. Mountcastle's under 4K. Just a really good game, and offenses that you can get pretty unique with. Even the Angels, it's kind of funny. I got to tell the story real quick. So I took the kids to the Tigers game on on Thursday when Miggy was going for the 499, and that was Mangone, you told me to stack it. I didn't have enough time to play. The final score is like 14-12. But the funny story about the whole thing is, my son, he's 7, he's really getting into baseball and whatnot, and it was a good game for a kid, because it's just nonstop hits and home runs. But Brandon Marsh got up and he had really, long hair. His first at bat, he bombed it off the wall for I believe it was a triple. His second at bat, like he hit it to straightaway center, like off the wall. Maybe that wasn't a second, but he had 2 or 3 really good hits. So, after the game, I was just talking with my son. I was like, oh, what's your takeaways? Who's your favorite players? He goes, well, Miggy's still the best, but he's like, Brandon Marsh, I think, might be one of my favorite players. I think he's the best player in baseball. So I will be playing some Brandon Marsh tonight. I'll tell you that much.
That's awesome.
Oh man, yeah, that's awesome. He is supposed to be a pretty good player, I think. Ask DC. DC's got all the breakdown on him. I think he's a power speed guy, but the game stack, right? Hoop. I said, don't forget to build the game stack. And I pulled up our cash chart chat, and your comment was, LOL, that would be a painful one. So it is funny how that all worked out. Man, and your response, I said, it's Quintana versus Manning. Anything's possible. You said, yeah, that's really gross. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I played some Angels. I almost got to the top of the leaderboard. Nelson Cruz hurt my feelings, but hey, it can happen when you got 2 bad arms on the mound. And listen, Watkins and Bundy, it can be bad. And Bundy's a guy who's got a quick leash. And when that quick leash happens, you get that Angels bullpen. And Title, I'll go to you. I mean, Orioles, Angels, it's a good game stack spot. And I think in cash games, you're going to get some exposure to these guys.
Yeah, I put it in Discord. We were talking earlier. I said stack Camden Yards and Prince. I mean, it's 90 degrees in Camden. Hitters Park. I always love targeting the Orioles Park anywhere. And Spencer Watkins, he just got blew up by Tampa. I don't think he's very good. And then Dylan Bundy. I mean, his last 2 starts haven't been very good either. I think he's past his prime. So good hitting weather, good hitting park, pretty cheap bats all around. I think this is the best spot on the slate. There's pretty much no one that I would avoid. I mean, the guys in Lagares, he's min price at 2K. Then they also got this, I don't know if it's Jamie Jones. I don't know how to pronounce it, but he's min price at second base for Baltimore too. Brandon Marsh, he gets the platoon advantage. So in the 7 hole, he is a pretty good player, 3.1K. Who that narrative, I mean, I'll think I'm going to go to him. You don't need to just stack the top of the order. Like Fletcher is the worst one, I would say, because he is 4.7, but anytime I look, David Fletcher's on base, and DraftKings always has him priced up, whereas Upton's priced down. So I still would add him, I think, to be contrarian. He'll be low owned. This whole game, top to bottom, obviously Ohtani's the best play at 6.4. Cedric Mullins, 4.5 is too cheap. Santander and Austin Hayes is too cheap. So the Baltimore outfield and Ohtani will get the most ownership, but I like full stack in this game for sure.
All right, Hoop, let's go over to you and let's talk about the next game because you're a big Phillies backer, right? You love to play the Phillies. I feel like Rumpure's been on the Rays for a while now, and this is a game that I think it's a great spot. I love this one. It's probably my favorite game stack on the slate, and it doesn't have a great total, which I'm fine with. I think people are going to be off it. I think it's a really good contrarian spot on this slate. How about you, Hoop? Are we stacking up some Phillies and Rays today?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, just to start with the Rays, I think they're in a really good spot here. It's a nice park upgrade for them. Obviously, the only thing that sucks is, brings their pitcher into the lineup, but that's fine. I mean, they got some Rosarina, Cruz, Franco, Diaz has treated me well, Margot, Zunino, like the rest of it, you can play the rest of the lineup 1 through 8. So I really like the Rays here tonight. I think their ownership will be pretty suppressed. And then the Phillies, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a sucker for the Phillies. I just like the way their lineup is put together, and I look at it, and I feel pretty good with playing guys 1 through 6 in a pretty good spot here. I mean, no one's going to be on them. The total is, lower than some of these other really, really hot spots. So, yeah, I'm going to play some Phillies. And the nice thing about playing a team like this is you don't have to dedicate high numbers of ownership. I mean, these guys are going to all be in the single digits. If you're making 20 teams and you play them in 2, you're going to be over the field, which is, what you always want to be doing when you're building GPP teams. Try to get over the field on these teams. It's going to be super easy to do that with the Phillies. So they'll definitely be in my pool tonight.
All right. Title, how about you? I mean, I seriously, I think it's one of the better game stacks on the entire slate. I really think it's a good one. This Philadelphia ballpark, it plays smaller when we have the heat up, right? Baltimore's like that. There's a lot of hot spots today. Boston, I mean, it's got a big total, but I think it's one of the better game stacks on the slate. How about you?
I'm not really high on it, to be honest, as high as you guys. At least some Tampa bats I think are fine. A Rosarena in the one hole 4.4K is too cheap. Nelson Cruz against a lefty is always fine, but like I love Ohtani. I like some other spend ups a little more, and I'll be spending up a pitcher. So if I do stack Tampa, I'd want him in my stack. I don't think I'm going to get there at 5-2. Margot is the one that I think is pretty interesting. 2-7 in the 6 hole. I'd be fine as a one-off there. And then Mike Zunino, I'm always fine with. He's treated me well. Always has the power at the catcher position. 4.2K, I'd be fine there. But I don't think I'm going to get to this game as much as you guys.
All right. Hoop, give me your final thoughts here. Like, which would be your favorite side? Are you Rays or Phillies? Because you're a big Phillies guy, so that would speak a lot if you say the Phillies over the Rays.
Yeah, tonight is probably going to be the Rays. They get the park upgrade. I mean, and honestly, their bats just offer more upside with, Rosarena, Cruz, Franco, Diaz, Margot. I mean, these are guys that can hit multiple home runs. On the Phillies, you got to get a little bit lucky. I mean, you're going to need some stolen bases and things like that. So just based on the upside, I definitely prefer the Rays side.
Yeah, and K9 Bronco in the chat, you still have to hit the ball no matter how hot it is. Yeah, I mean, the Rays hit the ball pretty good. I think they'll be okay, Bronco. We'll be up. We'll be fine. No worries.
That was quite the comment.
That's a real bad. That's a real bad comment. Take whatever. I mean, that no logic there.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the White Sox and the Blue Jays. Berrios and Cease, right? And if this is a slate where we didn't have such great top arms, we'd maybe be considering some of these guys as options to go to. It just feels like a game that you're just going to stay away from, but it is a 9 total. Hoop, I'll go to you. What are you doing with the Blue Jays and White Sox? For me, I am out on this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's two, offenses that are, to me, two of the better offenses in baseball. But, on a 14-game slate where we have some real gas cans going, like, I don't want to be picking on these pitchers all that much. I mean, definitely not. I definitely won't be on the White Sox against Berrios. I think you could make the case for Toronto, but man, even Toronto, they've kind of been, early on in the year, they're the hot offense, kind of been slowing down a little bit. Not playing in those, little mini ballparks that they're in for the first half of the season. So, yeah, I'll be fading this game. And plus, I mean, you look at the Blue Jays lineup, and once you get past the, first 4 or 5 dudes, it is not the same lineup they're rolling out early on in the season. So this is a fade for me.
It's not the same lineup. It's not the same park they've been playing in. I mean, it's arguably a worse park than the 2 that they played in to start out the season. So, yeah, I'm just out on this game. No thanks. Title, how about you?
Yeah, it's not a game I'm really going to have interest in either. If I had to do a one-off on each team, it'd be Corey Dickerson, 2.9K for Toronto. And then your boy Luis Robert is leading off today at 3.8K. So I wouldn't mind one-offing either of them. I think they'll be pretty low owned, but I'm not going to game stack it or any of that.
That's fair. I do have him on the cash chart. He is way too cheap on DraftKings. I mean, batting first, right? Gets the nine innings. So he's going to get maybe 5 at bats possibly in this game. Definitely 4. But yeah, I think that they are definitely in. Luis Robert is definitely in play, at least in your cash games, because the price tag is just too cheap for a guy batting first in that lineup. Let's go talk about the Rangers and the Indians. And Hoop, I'll go to you. Bill Miller is the umpire there. So that does hurt some of the bats, but Taylor Hearn is not very good. And the Texas bats are really, really cheap today. I mean, they're just underpriced. So if you pay up for these top end arms, your kind of roster construction drives you to play some Rangers. So will you be playing some Rangers here on this slate and some Indians?
For the Rangers, probably more prone to play them in like cash games to make sure, okay, can I, play 2 top arms? Can I play some of these top bats like Ohtani? If I can do all that and, pick off, 1 or 2 Texas guys to make it all work, sure, I'll go that route. Wouldn't play them in tournaments. I have some interest in the Indian side. I like the middle of that lineup with, Ramirez, Reyes, and Ramos. I think that's a good stack. I'm not going to go really outside of that. You can throw Miles Straw in there too. I think he's viable, but this is not a lineup where I'd go to the bottom and stack. Again, I don't think it'll be super highly owned. If you're MMEing, it's not going to take a ton to get way over the field. They're at home going against a dead team in the Rangers. Their total's over 5. I will have some exposure to the Indians, not like one of my top teams though.
Yeah, and Hoop, we got someone in the chat. His name's Dante Jones. He says, is the promo code still viable? looking for a new home, if you know what I mean. And maybe he's looking for a new home because there's people asking for more money hoops. So this is the part of the show where you talk about that. So let me give you the floor to talk about the code and that.
Yes, the code is still live. RPS NFL 15. It's only going to be live for, I think it's like 2 more weeks, and then it goes away, and the prices go back to normal. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a new home and you like to play multiple DFS sports, this is a spot to be. All our content is one price. These other sites, when the other sports start, they charge you more. NFL is going to be $350, $300, $400. They're charging you extra for preseason. They're charging you extra for freaking NASCAR, which I still baffles me because we have the best NASCAR team, and it's under the one umbrella. The other sports, the niche sports, they call them the niche sports. They charge you extra for MMA. We got, the best MMA analyst, Titletown, DC pitches in Joey Work. They do the show. College football, they're going to charge you extra. So Run Pure Sports is one price for everything. If you use that promo code, I mean, you're paying like $67 a month, which is like by far the cheapest in the industry. So yes, it's a biased opinion, but to me, it's the best value in the industry.
All right. Title, they're asking for the logo too. You can find it in the Discord chat, right? Title, amongst all the things. You can find the schedule. You can find in media alerts where the premium show goes live. If you can't find the premium show. So Title, anything else I'm missing there on the Discord chat that they can get?
No, I mean, yeah, everything Hoop said. The best part about RPS, in my opinion, is the Discord, just hanging out there whenever you wake up, talking sports, talking strategies. Whenever you go to bed, if you want to talk MMA, NASCAR, League of Legends, Valorant. I know that's a esport too that we have. I mean, you name it. If there's contests, we have it, and you can talk sports. So Discord is definitely my favorite part. You can find the images, find media alerts. You do the schedule all the time. So make sure to check that out so you know when the shows are. And yeah, I mean, get in Discord if you're a member, because that's the best part.
Yeah, and let's talk about the bet side too while we're here, because Joey Works in the chat, and he says, can I get some love on the Senzatella call, which he did call the strikeouts yesterday. On Senzatella, he had the over, so that was a great call. We talked about that on the premium show. That got DC to get more Senzatella in his core. I definitely like Senzatella a bit. I didn't end up going him. I went Yanoa, but I talked about it. I said, yeah, like, this is a really, really, really strong slate for some of these mid-tier pitchers. And he was absolutely right about Senzatella. So great call by Joey Work. I'm sure he's got some more bets over there for you guys to check out. I know JJ did a free bet over on the Run Pure Bets YouTube. So be sure to check that out. But let's move on. Let's talk about the next game on the slate. Next one up, we got, or actually, Title, you've talked about the Indians and Rangers. You haven't done that yet. So let's talk about that game. Because again, it's a slate that I think you got to play some Rangers, at least over on DraftKings. So what are you doing here with this game, Title?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, outside of Franmil Reyes and Jose Ramirez, there's nobody above 4K in this whole game, which is something you rarely ever see. So if you want to go Corbin Burns and Flaherty, get some Ohtani and other expensive bats, I don't mind finishing your lineups with some of these guys. I mean, Adolis Garcia is 2.9K. Then we get to these Texas bats. Tavares, Solak, Pozo, which is a catcher, Ibanez, and Peters, 2K, 2.2K, 2-1, 2-2, 2-2. So all these guys are basically free in your lineup. Miles Straw is only 2.K leading off. Wilson Ramos at catcher, 2.7K in the 5-hole. I'm going to come to this game if I need value bats. And I don't think either of these pitchers, like I said, I don't really have interest in Eli Morgan, not scared of Hearn on the other side in their bullpen. So if I need cheap bats, I'm going to go to this game to fill it out more than likely.
Yeah, and Dante, he says, man, love the live streams, right? Like we're kicking back with the guys versus reading the stats, completely different feel. Yeah, we definitely try to do that. Of course, we do look at the stats, right? I mean, we don't ignore them completely, but we definitely look at other things. We love looking at Vegas, right? Which, of course, that's incorporating some of those stats. But we do love sweating out the games with you, too, in the Discord. We got Nick Diesel in there just sweating every minute and getting angry at every single player, calling them a piece of crap. We got tons of stuff going on there. Title's laughing because he knows it. But yeah, it's a fun time for sure. We got gifts in the chat, people posting, which is a fun time. So don't miss out on that. Get in so you can watch the premium up to lock show as well, Dante. Let's move on though. Let's talk about the next game. And the next one is a really, really good one, right? It's the Red Sox. It's the Twins. You got Tanner Houck versus Griffin Jackson. The Red Sox are one of the best teams on the slate. They've had some really big implied totals as of late. Title, I'm going to go back to you. 10.5 total here. Are you playing some Red Sox and Twins in your lineup?
Yeah, so the Red Sox have by far the highest total on the slate, 6.5. It's about sitting at. No other teams above 5.6. And so, yeah, right away, Boston bats are going to get some ownership. Kyle Schwarber is back in the lineup too. He's only 4-5 in the 2-hole. Verdugo's 3.5K. Kiki Hernandez 4.9. I know Bogarts, Rafael Devers, JD are expensive. So this is where you maybe would need to fill some of that Texas or Cleveland game out if you want a one-off. But the guys that are cheap that I have exposure to, even in cash games, the Verdugos, the Schwarbers of the world, I think they're too cheap. But top to bottom, you can full stack this game, 6.5 total. Definitely going to get some ownership. As far as the Minnesota side, they're cheap. So like if you want a Luis Arias, Jorge Polanco is always very cheap. He's still 3.7K. Rooker's in the 2-hole, 2.8K. I don't mind mini stacking this game. Guaranteed ninth inning at bats at Fenway, but this Boston side is definitely the better side. I still do like in tournaments though. I like the game stack at Camden Yards more than Boston. So can't play them all. That's my lean right now, but they're in a good spot for sure.
All right, Hoop, I'm going to go over to you, but real quick, I have to mention this. I don't know if you caught this in the Discord chat earlier today, Hoop, but Nicky Diesel, I'm going to take one more shot at him for fun because he's a good guy to pick at. We have a blast with him. He said that he wants to know what sport Big T's focusing on because Big T's on a cold streak right now. I mean, the dude is not on a cold streak. He won like 100K 5 days ago. So we also had JT in the chat and K Falik. They hung out yesterday. You're apparently paying for the bill. It's on RPS, the beers they got. I don't know if you caught that one. So the chat's a very great time, Hoop, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in regards to the Big T thing, I mean, that just shows you how hot Big T is when he doesn't have a 6-figure screenshot within 5 days. The chat thinks he's on a cooler. I mean, the guy is just the absolute heater. That's comical to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very, very good. But speaking of heaters, let's talk about Boston, right? Because not to say they're on a heater, but they're the hottest team on the slate when it comes to ownership, when it comes to people wanting to play them. It's got a huge total. Are you playing Boston today? And how are you, I guess, if they're the chalk, right? How are you differentiating them?
Yeah, I mean, Boston's a pretty easy team to differentiate yourself with because you can play just about everyone. I mean, Vasquez is obviously the one weak spot, but I mean, you got a guy like Renfroe batting 7th at 5K. Like, no one's going to play him. If you want to get different, go down there. Travis Shaw, 3.9K, batting 8th. Was it yesterday? He hit the home run, right? He hit a home run, I believe, yesterday. You can get different with Boston very, very easily. Yes, Schwarber will be popular. I mean, Schwarber is going to be the most popular. 4.5K on DK is just a bad price on him. But you can play Verdugo, who won't be as highly owned. Shaw, Renfroe, do a wraparound. Just a bunch of different ways you can go with Boston. Highest team total on the slate. Great matchup here at home where they typically pound. I will not be fading Boston tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not fading them either. I want to get some exposure to them. They're definitely one of the best ones on the slate. What about your Twins? Are you going to do the game stack? Is this like the best game stack of the slate? Because will people actually gravitate to the Twins because they haven't won probably money for anyone since you won? So how are you handling the Twins here?
They got the job done, and I bailed on them. I don't think I've really played them since when I said they're going to get it done for us.
Yeah, you did. I think you did what you have to do, right? The day after, you got to run it back on at least one, especially when they win you that much money, and then you just jumped off, which is
that's it. And it's worked out well because they haven't been producing a ton of runs. So yeah, I'm fine staying off the Twins.
All right, let's go talk about the Mets and the Giants. Tato, I'll go over to you. This is not a park I typically target in New York, but the Giants, they've hit the most home runs on the season. They get McGill, which I don't really like targeting him. I haven't targeted him too much this year. This feels like a game I'd maybe stay away from. You could talk me into maybe a Giants play as a one-off here or there, but I just don't think it's necessary on this slate.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's 14-game slate. If it was smaller, you maybe do a mini stack or something. If there's a one-off, it'd be Alex Dickerson. He's 2.3K in the 4-hole, but he has pinch hit risk. If a lefty comes in, he's most likely going to be out. So, he'd be the one-off, hoping he gets an early homer. Easier thing, though, is just cross off this whole game. That's what I'll be doing.
All right, Hoop, are you crossing this game off, and are you crossing off Nationals and Marlins? May as well just throw that in there now while we're there, because I assume you're not playing either game here.
Not touching bats from any part of any 4 of those offenses.
All right, let's move on. Hoop, we'll go right back to you. Let's talk Yankees and Braves. Where I don't know if K Falik's going to all the Braves games, if he's there for the entire series, but he was at the game last night. He was hoping for all the runs. We got Morton versus Heaney. We know Heaney can give up some bombs, and this Atlanta offense has been hitting pretty well besides yesterday. What are you doing here with the Braves against Heaney?
Yeah, I think this is a spot where in tournaments, you can play Heaney if you like him. I mean, I don't like him a ton, and I probably won't play him. I might have a little bit. Like on FanDuel, he's 7K. I think that's reasonable to go to him. He's kind of like a boomer bust guy. I think he's good for GPP type stuff. So I think you can play him there, but also you can be on the Braves, and I am going to play the Braves tonight. I think this is a pretty bad matchup for Haney. So, you know, guys like Elby, Soler, Riley, Swanson, Freddie Freeman in tournaments, you know, people won't play him because the lefty-lefty matchup. When things are off for Heaney, he typically gets rocked, and that's what you want in DFS. So I like the Braves bats here, kind of like a leverage play, because we know Heaney will have some ownership.
All right, Title, I'll go over to you. I stacked against Heaney the other day. You know, I got my Bogarts homer, and then they just died, right? But Heaney can, when he gives up the hard contact and when he's a disaster, what can happen? He can give up a ton of bombs. So is this a good spot to target the Atlanta Braves?
Yeah, and you were talking at the beginning of the show about certain hitting spots in the weather. I mean, this is one of them. It's almost 90 in Atlanta. Yesterday, JT and K Falk were saying how hot it was, and they were on the ball was flying. We saw Stanton's home run yesterday that he barely flicked and went out. Balls are going to be flying again today, and we get a fly ball pitcher in Heaney. So I definitely have interest in Atlanta. Jorge Soler, 4.2K. Duvall, 4.1K. I have interest there. Travis Darno, he's at catcher eligible, 3.7K. He's going to be pretty low owned. I don't think this stack really gets too much ownership. Albies, Riley, I know Swanson and Freeman, they're expensive. That's why they're going to be lower owned. But if you punt one of these pitcher spots, pair him with the top guy and stack Atlanta, I definitely think it makes sense. As far as New York, I'm going to be hunting the home runs more. Anthony Rizzo, he's only 3.4K. That's too cheap. If you want to go Rougned Odor at second or third base, he's 2.9K. I don't want a full stack or any of that against Morton, but if I'm not playing him, I'm expecting a home run or two. So that's how I'd approach them.
Yeah. Steve Becker in the chat, he says, Hoop treated the Twins like a high school girlfriend, hit it and quit it. I mean, definitely on that day, yes, but Hoop has definitely had his loyalty to the old Twins over the years, I would say. But
yeah, there's some names in that lineup that I've held near and dear to my heart. But the most recent run, yeah, it was straight hit and quit. You get in there, get the job done, send them packing, and tell them to forget your number.
It was the high school girlfriend you can't get away from, right? But like you hit it one time, then you're like, I've been here before. I know how this goes. I'm out. Like, no.
I mean, it's not an extended stay situation. It's, check in, check out, and be done.
All right. Speaking of checking in, what you guys should do, you should check into Underdog Fantasy and use the code RUMPURE to get a $25 deposit bonus. You don't have to be a subscriber to Rumpure Sports. If you're watching this, as Holden likes to call the freeloaders, if you're watching, you can sign up over at Underdog. And then when you deposit, and if you don't have to sign up, right? You could be a Underdog user right now and use that code RUMPURE to get a $25 deposit bonus. So be sure to do that right now and get in those best ball drafts. I know Titletown and Simon were talking before the show. They only got like 5 more drafts I think they can crank out over there on Underdog, but you got to get in and get those winners right now. Let's move on though. Let's talk about the Tigers. Let's talk about the Cardinals, and I'll go back to Hoop because, the Tigers are technically his team, even though he doesn't like claiming them. You got the Cardinals and the Tigers here, and you got Casey Mize on the mound. I'm sure you're not targeting Flaherty at all, but the Cardinals, are they in play for you here against Mize?
Gosh, whenever I see this Tigers lineup, all I think is freaking G Rising betting Miggy to hit a home run for like 3 weeks straight at like 5-1. I mean, literally, it's got to be like the worst sequence of bets in the history of sports betting, and just got to feel bad for the guy. He's just like the ultimate Detroit sports homer. Disappointment for the last 20 years, just pounding Miggy to hit a home run for 3 weeks, and finally gets it done on Sunday. And I'm sure he was off.
I bet he didn't even bet it. I bet he didn't even bet it on Sunday. He probably missed the train after 3 weeks. He hopped off because it was on the road, and he's probably
just getting the worst odds. I mean, the worst possible odds, like 5-1 every day. Oh, tough scene for him. Not on the Tigers. Obviously, we like Flaherty here. And then on the Cardinals side, kind of with Big T in the sense, especially on these bigger slates where I just don't want to be in these stadiums that, just don't produce a lot of runs. And the team total for the Cardinals sitting right around 5, which is on par with some of these other teams that I like. I'm just going to keep doing it. Like, it hasn't hurt us all that much this season, fading the Cardinals at home. This ballpark just hasn't been great. I think, Mize is an average pitcher, but he's had some big starts this year. I'm just going to continue on and just not play them in this ballpark unless they're going against a real, complete gas can, which I don't think Casey Mize is. So, yeah, I won't be playing offense here.
Yeah, I will say the Cardinals, I think on like shorter slates, sometimes in this stadium, you can get away with it. It's the wrong slate today. It's just, I'm okay. I'm out. No, thanks. I've been fading the Cardinals most times in this stadium. I know JT was right the one day when the Royals were playing. It was like a shorter slate, like a 7-gamer, and it was hotter there and it wasn't hotter in other spots. Just seems like the wrong slate. I'm with Hoop. If it happens and I lose, so be it. Title, how about you? What are you doing here with the Cardinals and the Tigers?
Yeah, Detroit, I definitely don't have interest because I like Flaherty. And as far as, the Cardinals, I mean, Casey Mize is only going to go 4 to 5 innings. He hasn't had double-digit DraftKings points since last 3 starts. So you'll see some of the bullpen. But Tyler O'Neill and Dylan Carlson would be the only ones that I would one off. Tyler O'Neill has tons of power, 3.6K in the 5-hole, and then Carlson's in the 3-hole at 3K, which is pretty cheap. So only 2 guys I would go there. And then you skipped me a little bit on the Miami-Washington. And I know it's not a game we really want to target too much, but we have Lane Thomas batting leadoff at 2K for Washington in the outfield. I think he's a fine punt if you need it. Carter Keyboom, he's 2.1K at third base. So they have a couple cheap bats. Ryan Zimmerman, 2.7 against the lefty and Luzardo. Luzardo can't really throw strikes. So if you want to get some of the top of the guys in the top of the order for free, hopefully they get walked or something a couple of times. I don't hate that.
Yeah, you can add those. I agree. Add those Nationals guys to the list. Ryan Zimmerman 2.5, Lane Thomas 2K. You can add them with those Texas guys for real cheap options to get the top pitchers and the top bats. I agree with you there.
All right, let's move on then. Let's talk about the Rockies and the Cubs. And I believe there's some weather that's forming there that could cause some issues. So that could hurt Marquez a little bit. Hoop, I'll go over to you. Cubs and Rockies, you got Steele on the mound. I mean, some of these righties could be in play, even though the Rockies are out of Coors. What are you doing here with this game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very stubborn with rules I kind of set for myself, and I just don't play the Rockies outside of Coors, and it's one of those things where it's worked for so long, just fading the Rockies when they're not in Coors. Now, this is a tempting spot, obviously, going against a Steele guy and a dead team in the Cubs, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to stack. I mean, you can play some individual guys here. I think Trevor Story, he's 3.5K on FanDuel. I think that's acceptable. But typically just a team struggles to produce runs outside of Coors. They're good in Coors. Outside of Coors, they're not all that good. And it's kind of been the case for a long time with the Rockies. They can produce runs and score at Coors, and then when they're away, they struggle. I just kind of established a rule for myself, and I typically stick to it. So I'll be off them. And then I like Marquez, so obviously it won't be on the Cubs.
All right. Title, go over to you. You love playing Coors, but obviously the Rockies are not in Coors, so it's not the same situation. What are you doing here with the Rockies and the Cubs?
Yeah, so I really play them on the road, but when I see Vegas having a 4.9 implied total, that just stands out to me because you really never see that when they're on the road. Shows how bad Colorado is. I mean, they're completely tank mode. Don't think Steele's very good. Their bullpen isn't. And I think they come in really low owned. So I'll take a shot at them. You get Trevor Story against the lefty. I'd always like that. CJ Cron against the lefty. Then you get some of these other guys. Connor Joe leading off 3.5K. Elise Diaz, he's catching today. He's 6K. Or no, he's in the 6-hole. He's 4.1K. I don't think these guys really get ownership in Vegas. To give them a 5 implied total, it's a lot of respect more than usual for this lineup. So I'm going to back Vegas on this one and guarantee 9th inning at bats. I'll get some Colorado, pair them with some of that Camden game yard as my main GPP stack.
All right. Let's go on to the next game. Let's talk about the Royals and the Astros. And the Astros, they let us down yesterday. People love to talk about the flop lag spots, right? This could be one of those spots against Brady Singer. Hoop, I don't really want to go back to the Astros too much today, but I think you could if you wanted to. How are you handling the Astros on this slate?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously they're the premier team. I mean, the slate last night for offense was a disaster. I mean, they had a team total that was like a run higher than everyone else and laid a complete egg. Now you get a 14-game slate. People will be off them. I'm going to play some of them. I think you can get them at low ownership. I don't think many people will be going back. Still have a team total that's about 5.5, which is solid. don't love their lineup all that much. So, I mean, I'll probably focus on the main guys here for the most part. But yeah, I'm going to be back on them. It's a spot here where I think I can play them. Similar to some of those other teams that I talked about, like with the Rays and the Phillies. I mean, I think Astros come in a little higher owned, but I don't have to play a ton of them to get over the field, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I'll be back on them. Definitely, no interest in the Royals for me.
All right. Let's go over to you, Title. What are you doing here with the Astros and the Royals?
Yeah, so I mean, got to fade some of these guys that are getting teams that are going to get a little ownership with totals above 5. And because I like Camden a little bit, like the Rockies, I always keep my player pool short in MLB especially. So they're going to get some ownership. I don't mind them. Michael Brantley and cash at 3.9K. Jordan Alvarez 5.3K always has power, but I don't really like this lineup. Taylor Jones, Jake Myers, Jason Castro. It's just not their best lineup. Their A lineup out there. I like the other games more, like the other hitting environments more. So I'm not really going to be on the Astros, and they're going to get some ownership. Cash games, Michael Brantley, though, is always too cheap. Then as far as Kansas City, I just don't think you need to do it on this slate either. So I'll fully avoid it.
All right, let's move on to the next game. And I don't think we're playing too many guys from this game. I mean, Tyler Mahle can get hit hard at times. He can have his blow-up spots. It happened, I think, against the Cubs the other day. But I like playing the Brewers. Hoop, can I play the Brewers here? It feels like the wrong slate to me. I think there's better offenses. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can play him. I mean, again, another offense that's going to be pretty low owned. I mean, Molly's a name. He's a guy that people think are pretty good, so I don't think many people will be on him. Good hitting environment. I'm not overly excited about it, but you can, another team where just a little bit of exposure, if you're into them, that's all it's going to take to get over the field. So those are good spots to kind of look for in MLB DFS because of the variance, a low owned team going against, a decent enough pitcher where the ownership is going to be super low. So I don't hate it. Not my favorite spot. I haven't included them or crossed them off my player pool yet. Still kind of trying to decide. But then with Burns, yeah, we obviously like Burns, top raw point pitcher on the slate, so won't be playing the Reds.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I don't want to really mess with this game. Let's go to the last one. And you get a little gap between the games, right? And we'll have Showdown content for this, the MLB stuff over here at Run Pure Sports. Again, use that code RPS NFL 15 to get 15% off your first payment. We got the Dodgers. We got the Padres. Hoop, I'll go right back to you. And also, we got 215 likes. So tell the people to get those likes up for us. We got 450 watching. And then talk about the Dodgers and the Padres.
Yeah, it's been a solid show. We haven't had to, get into the likes all that much. You guys kind of got the job done. One final push on the likes, and we'll get to the stacks and the plays of the day. It's kind of all we're looking for here. Yeah, big people asking about Big T. Big T's going to be back in the saddle, I believe, tomorrow. Took the extended vacation out in Denver. He's got a lot of family and friends out there. So I know after the final was over, he was kind of going around and getting with some people. So, hey, Big T has been with us all season long, every sport, grinding hard. He's earned a few days to himself, and I'm sure he's going to still be playing and have his cores up. Big T will be back.
Are you sure, Hoop? I heard Big T. He won 100K 5 days ago, and he's on a cold streak. So maybe he's just taking some time off because of that cold streak he's on.
Yeah, maybe he's gone into financial depression. Who knows? This last game here, no strong lean. I don't know. I don't know really who is Pierce Johnson. Is this just like a
bullpen game?
Bullpen game. Okay. Maybe some interest in the Dodger. These are the spots that are somewhat interesting. This game is 2 hours before or after every other game locks. I don't think anyone's really going to be on the Dodgers. Team total hovering around 5. I'm going to play some Dodgers just because I know they're going to be way lower than if they're starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. So I'll play them probably just for that reason. I don't love, taking offenses against bullpen games. It typically doesn't work out all that well. But because I know that what the Dodgers are capable of and I'm projecting, probably really low ownership on them here, I will have them in my player pool. And then on the Padres side, probably just Tatis as a one-off. And, I typically don't play one-offs. I try to stack. So, Tatis as a one-off would be it on that side.
All right. Title, give me the breakdown here. What are you doing with this Dodgers and Padres game?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like really attacking bullpen games. I'm not going out of my way to play hitters in San Diego, but this is one of the spots where anytime the Dodgers are low owned, which I think they're going to be extremely low owned today, I'll just play them in GPPs and buy in on the talent of this lineup. So at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know if you call that a game theory thing or just certain teams. That's what I do. And I'm just going to play them. So we don't know the lineup. You're going to have to backload Trey Turner, 5K, Justin Turner, 4.8K, Will Smith, 4.9. I'd want to stack the top of the order. And this is one of the lineups that I'd have to mix some of Texas, some of Washington in, maybe even go Marquez and save the 2K from Burns. So I'm going to make a couple GPP lineups today, and one's going to have the Dodgers. They're going to be low owned, and it's the Dodgers at the end of the day. That's pretty much my only analysis there.
All right, let's move on to the stacks. We're at 230 likes. We'll get it to 250, I think. I got faith in the people. We'll give our plays of the day afterwards. Hoop, give me the stacks on this slate.
Oh, all right, let's go. I mean, I'm assuming we're going to say outside of Boston. Boston's a spot that's going to be the most popular. I think after them, I mean, I love the Orioles. I think the Angels probably have more ownership than the Orioles. Love the Orioles here. That total, it does look like it came down a half a run, but that's not all that bad. So give me the Orioles. And then I'm gonna go the Rays. I think the Rays come in low ownership, and just a lot of upside at the top of the order there, and a park upgrade for them as well. So yeah, those are a few of the stacks I'm looking at here.
Yeah, I mean, Rays are my number one stack. I'm going to be all over. I love Boston. Boston's definitely in there. We talked about it, but everyone knows that they're a good play. Everyone knows that the Angels are a good play too, but I love the game stack, right? Of the Rays and the Phillies. That's probably my favorite spot to attack. That might be a little bit different. Title, we'll go over to you. Give me your stacks.
Game stack at Camden, the Rockies in my low owned pivot, and then I'll give you four, the Dodgers. I'm going to mix in those four teams. The only teams I'll have, the Camden will get ownership, and the Rockies and Dodgers, mix them in because I think they're going to be low owned.
All right, let's go over to Hoop. Give me your play of the day. Who is going to be your favorite guy on this slate to target?
All right, so the 4X play of the day. You know, we typically for these plays try to pick someone that's going to be low owned. This guy's going to be low owned, all right. And you know, I talked about him at great length. This guy is near and dear to my heart for a very special reason. Now my 7-year-old's favorite player in the MLB, Mr. Brandon Marsh. All right, he's going to get it done for us. All right, I have a strong conviction that Brandon Marsh might not be by way of home run. All right, it could be by the way of triples, doubles, stolen bases, runs. Brandon Marsh, 4X play of the day, going to get it done for us tonight.
All right, Brandon Marsh, he is going to get it done for you guys, and he's a way to make your Angel stack a little bit different. Title, we'll go over to you. Give me your play of the day.
I love that play, Hoop. You had to do it when you talked about it. I'm going to get him in the narrative street. I don't believe in too many narrative streets, but this is definitely one.
Mangone is a strong narrative guy. If you don't play Marsh tonight, Mangone, it's your narrative game is just
weak.
I love a good narrative. I do. I will say. I don't know if you noticed.
Kid's favorite play. You got to get in on it.
I might have to get in on it for sure today. Also, like Dalton Varsho's son, first game as at the Pirates Stadium ever, right? His dad played for the Pirates. He hit a home run. I mean, the narratives are live. You can't ignore them. They are real. Title, who is your play of the day?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the Rockies, and I'm going to go CJ Cron. I really like Story Cron mini stack. Think it's going to be really low owned against the lefty. Story is going to be a little higher owned, so give me CJ Cron at first base.
All right, Mr. CJ Cron, it is. I'm going to give you a guy. I think Hoop gave him the other day, and it's always tough to like figure out who to play when you play the Rays. And I kind of like that they don't have all 9 guys in the DH because maybe it makes the decision-making a little easier today. I'm going to go with Mr. Randy Arozarena as my play of the day. I'm making sure he's not off my stack, right? Sometimes when you build out those stacks, the Rays are another one where they have an absolutely loaded lineup of Arozarena, Cruz, Lau, Meadows. just absolutely loaded. I'm not going to keep him off my stack. I want to make sure I get in the big boy bats when I stack them up. I don't want to have like Yandy Diaz and I like Mike Zunino. I guess it's not that low of a lineup today, but I'm going to make sure I get my boy Randy Arozarena in today. He is my play of the day. Hoop, give me your final thoughts before we get on out of here.
Yeah, I mean, fun slate. I mean, I feel real good about the pitchers. I think, some of these offenses are in really good spots. What my plan will be, like I said, is to kind of focus in on these offenses. And as much as I like these pitchers tonight, I'm going to, like I said, it's going to be a offensive priority. And I will say a point that you touched on is pretty important because, that Chicago game is looking a little worse for weather. So that's something to monitor with Marquez. I talked about how much I like Marquez. If I can't go to Marquez, I might have to look at some of those cheaper pitchers that we talked about. I wasn't very high on them when we talked at pitcher, but if Marquez is off the board because of weather, might be forced to go a little cheaper, which I'm fine with, I guess, now at this point.
Yep, something we'll be monitoring in the Discord chat for the people, right? And we'll be helping you guys out. But that'll wrap it up for us. We got coming up next, we got JSU, we got, I believe, DC and Holden probably here on one of his days. No day off for Holden today, finally. But that's it. Join the premium show for me, Mangone, Title, and Hoop. See you guys later.
Good luck, everybody.